Good morning everyone, welcome to the latest edition of the Financial Planner. You joined me very early morning today, very strong coffee in hand, much needed after a sleepless night with a 5-year-old who, let's be honest, probably is a little uncertain with what's going on as well. I think it's probably something we dismiss too much with regards to what's going on through their little heads and all the uncertainty, and trying to explain why, of course, we're not doing our normal things that we do on a day-to-day basis. Added to that, of course, they're being homeschooled, which me and my wife Jo are waiting for our Ofsted report, but I think we might be in special measures currently. So we are hoping to improve on this, but I know a lot of you are in the same boat, so I wish you well with that as well. So on to a serious note, using today to build on some continuity of what we've been talking about in previous weeks, and I want to really focus on what I'm going to refer to today, which is the 3 pillars of financial planning. And I think these are really important for us all to discipline ourselves, to take the emotion again out of the situation of what's going on with volatility, and just try and use this downtime, if you like, to structure yourselves in a way that's appropriate for the time moving forward. If you can, almost visualise as I'm talking 3 boxes on a mantelpiece, I guess like the one behind me, and what should be going into each box. And traditionally we may have done something one way that's no longer correct. So on screen now you can see what I'm referring to here, about 3 boxes where effectively we are going to distribute money or already have money distributed in different savings, products, investments, etc. And what I want to challenge you throughout this video is about proportion and whether you've got the right balance. Timing is absolutely imperative, and I keep going on about timing to the point that you're probably all bored of me referring to it, but it is really important that we understand this now moving forward. If you can look at box one is about money that goes into this box that's for the short term, the next 0 to 5 years, anything that you categorically are going to spend and need liquidity for. Box 2 is about 5+ years, and effectively still a box that you can dip into, take the top off the box, use the money at any point in time should you require it, but effectively isn't for tomorrow. And box 3 is traditionally longer term, 10+ years, money that effectively is for either retirement, or if you're already in retirement, potentially for estate creation and passing on to the next generation. And people tend to muddle these boxes up, and a lot of the time it comes back to emotion, or volatility, or just lack of time to do this form of planning, that the boxes are either overweighted in one particular area, or they have a lack of certainty or understanding about certain boxes and how they work. So I want to cover those off now in a little bit further detail. So let's start with box 1. This is, of course, the bank. This is talking about liquidity, having cash disposable for you at any point in time, 100% liquidity for you to be able to use the money. This categorically needs to cover things such as your emergency fund, which more than ever now that people are understanding why you have to hold one, but also things which you know are coming in the future. And this might be the holidays that you're going to be desperate to go on once travel restrictions are lifted, added into shorter term spends like things on the house, things for the kids, whatever the relevance is to you in the shorter term, things that you can write down on a piece of paper that categorically you're going to use in the next 5 years. This is where we potentially bring back into what Emma referred to on a video, which is flagstone, and of course understanding managing this cash to get you the best possible rate that you can potentially achieve. Now, of course, with the Bank of England at 0.1%, the rates you're going to achieve on your interest are, of course, going to be historically low. And there's no point me suggesting today that there is a magical wand that we can wave that will improve this. There really isn't. But holding cash is still important. The advice we would give is about looking at the cash you hold, making sure you've got financial security for not holding too much in any one bank or institution. And of course, splitting that cash into potentially instant access, 30-day term, 90-day term, 3-year accounts, etc., just to make sure that you are getting any more attractive rates that might be possible by putting that discipline into that level of saving. Don't hold too much cash, like we said before. If you're holding too much that you cannot give a justification for it for that emergency pot or for your shorter term needs, the argument would be that it's now in the wrong box. We now need to look at box number 2 and whether money should be transferred across into this environment. So box number 2 we can now see on screen is about trying to get money to appreciate in value. The problem with money in the bank in that first box is you're going to get an interest rate that's less than inflation, is arguably going to continue to be there for the next 10 years, and therefore it can't grow in real terms. If it can't grow, it's effectively going backwards. So when we look at box number 2, and again, I'm not obsessed with what we do for a living, so this might be property, this might be artwork, this might be watches. It's effectively any form of investment that you think can appreciate in value. Now in box 2, when we talk in our world, we often talk about investment. That could be using your ISA allowances as an example, where as a household, if you were a couple, you've got £20,000 in this current tax year each. And again, using this investment strategy to grow money tax-free, but again, with that timescale in mind. We're not putting anything into this environment that you need in the shorter term. You've done that in box 1. And box 2 is about parking it to one side, letting it appreciate, letting it grow, letting it take advantage of the current climate we're in, because again, we remain convinced that value is there. But knowing full well, and this is really important for people considering this, the lid on that box, the ability to put your hand back in and take the money out, is absolutely there. Money is not tied up in investment ISAs. You can take it out the following day. The only reason why we tell you not to take it out or invest in an ISA in this way in the short term is, of course, about volatility. We don't want people putting money into the market for a short-term need, the market having a bit of a wobble down, right at the time where you needed the money. So categorically, box number 2, 5+ years, using tax-efficient savings such as your ISAs, with additional money that you know you don't need in box 1 is really, really important. Box 3 is a really interesting one, because of course there's going to be a variety of people watching this video, from people who are still saving for retirement and people who are in retirement. So let's deal with those saving for retirement. Having that discipline of putting some money aside into pension is of course vitally important. You are using the tax efficiency of saving into a product that gives you tax relief from the government. So effectively everything you earn put back into pension gets grossed back up to its pre-tax state. Now that's massively attractive when you think about box 1, that is using money that you've earned, being taxed and paid national insurance on, and then going in a 0-point-something bank account. If you can gross the money back up and put it into pension, surely that's got to be part of your approach. Now, the problem being, of course, is for a lot of people is looking at pension and thinking it's a long way in the future, I can't touch it, I can't take the lid off that box to get accessibility, and therefore that scares me. Well, I guess we go back to having enough in box number 1 and box number 2. If you get those right first, box number 3, of course, is self-explanatory. So pension is really powerful, it's a discipline, we all need it, and absolutely that's something that you need to consider. Now, for those people watching this video who are looking at it from a already in retirement position, I urge you to look at box 3 as a state creation. If you have enough in box number 1, if you have enough in box number 2, if you already have enough income from your pension you're currently drawing, actually what you're doing is accruing money in the wrong places for potentially an inheritance tax bill that you don't necessarily want to pay. So what do we use box 3 for now? We use box 3 potentially for inheritance tax planning solutions, putting money into trust, gifting it to the next generation, and so on, making sure that we have that discipline to put it in the right areas to mitigate against tax where possible, provide you with access to income should you require it in the future, so you're not nervous about giving up all accessibility, but equally make sure that we don't hold it in box 1 where it can't grow at all, even though you keep telling yourself you're never going to touch it, and box 2 where it could be exposed to inheritance tax. So let's have a look at box 3 in terms of your individual planning. So again, that's relatively vague in terms of how it would be correct for you as an individual, but visualizing those 3 boxes, writing them down on a piece of paper at home would be invaluable, looking and making a list of what you've got in each of those areas, and if you imagine yourself as a household as a seesaw, are you imbalanced in any one area? And that, I think, is the most useful thing I could ask you to do over the next week, for you to try and have those conversations together or as an individual, and then with us to talk about how we redistribute your wealth. Again, I hope that's useful. We can talk more in detail once you come back with your questions. Stay safe. If you're like me, keep educating. It will only get better, and we'll move forward together. All the very best for now.